So one of the ways this team can get hot is to bring in some reinforcements. Little list I put together just listening to some content creators, reading some articles, some of the names that popped out. Um, Defensive linemen are easy because I feel like there's some big names out there, some veterans. So I just looked up their names, their contracts. I've heard Austin Hooper. I just kind of threw in there myself because I think a backup tight end is kind of a low key need on this team, especially if Kittle were to miss a game or two. The Niners have tight ends who can go out and block, but who's going to go catch passes? Austin Hooper is super cheap, and the Niners have tried to sign him in free agency in the past, so I know Kyle and John like him. And then I got a note at the bottom that the Niners have the most cap space in the NFL right now with $52.5 million, which obviously they're trying to save and roll over to next year with for Brock. But I also want to add Zadarius Smith. I have him up here. He's on the Browns right now. He's got 2 years left on his deal, but I saw an article, or I shouldn't say an article, maybe it was an article and I just didn't click on it. But I saw a tweet earlier saying that the Lions are pretty close to having a deal done to trade for him. Obviously, that's not done. It hasn't been announced yet, but it seems like the Lions are closing in on a deal with Zadarius Smith. But do any of these names jump out? Or names that aren't on the list? Any positions? Linebacker to me is a big time need. I just don't know any linebackers around the league that I would want to add to this list. I don't. Division rivals. I was thinking about this today. Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals. I couldn't name one linebacker for any of those teams. When I think about linebackers around the league, I'm like, I know Roquan Smith. Like, I know some of the top guys. Does Miles Jack still play? He's probably somewhere. But linebacker is a position I just don't know well. So, what do you guys think about this list? Anything you would add to it? Any guys you like on it?
I'll go first. At the top, obviously, number one's DeForest Buckner because
Defoe.
he's still a beast. But that's a pipe dream. Did the Colts win their last game? I'm trying to remember. Didn't they beat? They upset a
No,
team.
they lost Sunday night to the Vikings.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. Maybe he is more likely to be traded. So without a doubt, DeForest Buckner, number one. I think he would transform our defense quite a bit with the talent that we already have. I think he would complement really well. He can stop the run. He's disruptive in the pass game. He's a veteran leader. He knows the Niners. Like, it would be ideal. It would be seamless. The other ones, the ones that stand out are honestly the older guys, the veterans. I think Calais Campbell and Zadarius Smith would be the two that I would want the most. Calais Campbell, I'd like bringing in a veteran interior defensive lineman. I don't know how well he's playing this season. I believe I heard on a podcast or saw on Twitter that he has been playing pretty well this season. So I would be pretty stoked to bring in a veteran in the interior that can coach up maybe some of the young guys. Zadarius Smith would be one. It's just like, man, we're already pretty heavily invested on the edge. Obviously,
Just getting no production.
Yeah. So I would love Zadarius Smith, and I would hate to see him go to the Lions. That would be pretty tragic because I feel like that would be perfect. He's a perfect stopgap for what they need. Bring in some pass rush there to replace Hutchinson. So that would be tragic. So I would rank it DeForest Buckner, Zadarius Smith, and Calais Campbell. Outside of these non-defensive linemen, I would definitely love Austin Hooper. I agree. I think backup tight end actually is low-key a pretty big need. I'm happy with our running backs. Like, even if McCaffrey wasn't coming back, I don't know. I mean, if one's available super cheap and it's a good deal, then yeah, I definitely wouldn't say no. I think Alexander Madison is a pretty explosive player. Wide receivers, another one where, like, I'm pretty happy with our wide receivers, even though we're missing Ayuk. If Jawan Jennings can stay healthy, I'm happy with our wide receivers and letting some of the young guys play versus bringing in like Kendrick Bourne. Another name that I heard thrown around, which I don't know how realistic it is, but CJ Mosley on the Jets. If the Jets throw in the towel, he's a little bit of an older linebacker, but is still playing very well and is one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. To play alongside Fred. Obviously, Greenlaw's on his way back, but He might not be himself in the beginning.
Might not be himself ever again.
Might not be himself ever again. Yeah. And CJ Mosley, I'm talking like this season, he has like one of the top coverage grades out of all linebackers in the NFL. And
I like that
so,
name.
yeah, that's another
Yeah,
one.
Mosley's good.
Yeah, he definitely is. So, yeah, that would be my ranking. What about you, Steven?
Well, Buckner for sure, for a lot of reasons that you said. But to Ryan's point,
Get that jersey out of the closet and put it back on.
I still wear it with pride. But forever a Niner in my heart. What I love about Buckner, and obviously I'm more familiar with his work than anybody else on this list, but what I love about Buckner is he is going to be solid. He's going to plug holes. He's going to do everything you want a D lineman to do, and he's going to create pass rush. He might not be the same Buckner that we had, 5 years ago or whatever, but he still will, situationally create that. I don't really like I love DJ Jones. I don't expect him to create any pass rush. He might collapse a pocket, or he might once every 50 snaps, but I just don't.
Every once in a while, he would flash that crazy athleticism and run down Russell Wilson. You're like,
Yeah,
whoa, that big guy can move. But yeah, it was few and far between.
Right. Don't get me wrong. I love him. I love DJ Jones. Be so happy if he was still a Niner. I just don't know how impactful he would be, at this point. Whereas I feel like Buckner can be that multifaceted guy that's gonna help in a lot of ways. And I don't necessarily expect them to go out and get another pass rusher. Although if it was a wish list, that's exactly what I would want. I still have faith that Leonard Floyd is a good player and he can, help out. But man, maybe somebody that can spell him. So Leonard Floyd is like your third pass rusher instead of the other guy that you're relying on. But I don't know. There's a lot of
that might have been Yatur Gross-Matos. That might have been what they wanted from him, but he's obviously been on IR.
But that's another guy that's coming back soon, right? So maybe they don't need that, or they don't go spin big on the edge. I got to be honest, I haven't watched any Browns games this year, but I don't feel like I hear Zadarius Smith talked about, and I thought he was already kind of verging towards washed up before this season. So I don't know. And like Calais Campbell, that's what I worry about with him too. Although I know he's just a behemoth and can probably still make an impact just because of his size and his smarts. Because I think that's another thing that he's been talked about for years, is being, just a really intelligent football player. So Buckner, number one. I don't know enough about Ojulari, but he is enticing that he's so young. Clowney feels like...
What I like about...
Go ahead.
I'll just jump in real quick about Azeez Ojulari. What intrigues me about him is because he is young. He's having a good year. He's an ascending player. And if the Niners were to say trade, he might be... Let's say they traded a third-round pick for him, something pretty valuable. And he comes to the Niners and he plays really well. And they go to the postseason and he's playing well in the postseason. Someone's going to give him a big contract in the offseason and pay him. And the Niners are going to get a comp pick back for him. So, if Mike McGlinchey got a big contract, the Niners got a third-round comp pick for him.
Yep.
I don't know if he would quite get a big enough contract to get that. But if the Niners give up a third-round pick and he got a big enough contract that the Niners got a fifth-round pick in return, you've essentially rented a good young player, and all you gave up for it was 2 rounds in the draft.
Yep. I that's a great thought. I didn't even think about the contract implications, but so the Azeez that I would want would be Azeez Al-Shaair. Bring him back. I don't know if he's even available, but I really don't expect...
He's a Texan.
I really don't expect them to add a linebacker. And frankly, I'm not worried about linebacker if D. Winters could stay healthy, and if we could have, I'm going to say, even 85% of what Dre Greenlaw was. If we get 85% of Dre and a healthy D. Winters to go with the healthy Fred, I feel like I'm good. We don't need to add anybody else. But those are big ifs because D Winters seems like he gets dinged up always. And the poor guy, he seems like he has bad luck. And then we just don't know what to expect out of Dre. I mean, I want to think that, like, if anybody can come out there and be a maniac still after that injury, it's him, just because of how he is, but we don't know. Outside of that, like the guys that you have on your list, like I'm not interested in either of those receivers. Like, I feel like stay away.
Me neither.
And I feel like wide receivers are kind of a dime a dozen. So, like, even if they took another hit, like, so let's say Juwan can't get back or something else, like that would suck. But they could probably go find somebody off the scrap heap that they could get, you know, almost the same production that they would get out of anybody that's going to be available in a trade as a wide receiver. I don't think they need a running back. I don't think they need to entertain that. And I wouldn't hate another tight end, and Hooper seems like a good candidate, but I also don't know how big of a need that is because of juice. They have kind of a Swiss Army knife that they can use there as well, but I wouldn't be upset. I just don't think it's like, ooh, we got to go get a backup tight end, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the wide receivers do nothing for me. Most of these names were just names I heard other people talk about linked to the Niners, so I wrote them down.
I saw a crazy report about Tyreek Hill. Not that he's necessarily linked to the Niners, but just
I saw that too. Yeah, like should the Niners go get him?
consider it.
Yeah, that would make no sense. Honestly, I want no part of Tyreek Hill. He's awesome, but
Yeah.
I don't know that he would fit on this team. And
well, Brock
Purdy's really good, but is he going to hit Tyreek down the sideline? I don't know.
He loves to chuck it deep this season. He might be a perfect fit.
Yeah, maybe. I'm skeptical.
I heard a name mentioned. It was a D lineman from the Patriots that I don't know who he is. I couldn't remember, but
yeah,
I had him on this list, and for some reason I can't even remember. I deleted him. His name's like Davin Shadow, and he's 30. He's an old vet. He's a run stuffing D tackle.
So, that could be interesting. I feel like that's what it's going to be. I don't think there's going to be a big sexy trade that the Niners do at any position. And if they were to go that route, then I hope it's like a Buckner or D-line help, basically, because that, to me, has been underwhelming. Isn't it funny that we're not talking about the O-line as much as we were concerned about them coming into the season? Not that they're just absolute studs, but they've been serviceable. They've done just fine. They haven't been the reason, I feel like, other than some dumb penalties every now and then.
Yeah, the thing about the D-line is you can rotate them in and out, and the depth is nice. O-lineman, you just pick your starting five and you ride or die with those five.
I think also the emergence of Pooney has kind of made that
most definitely, yeah.
I've got some quick stats that I was just looking up in the background on Zadarius, and then I want to throw a couple names out quickly. So Zadarius Smith has already 5 sacks this season in 8 games, so he's well on his way to double-digit sacks. I know sacks can be a little fickle because they can kind of just fall into your lap, but well on his way to double digits.
He would immediately be the Niners sack leader.
Yeah. The next guy is Calais Campbell, who he has 2 sacks, 22 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, 3 passes defended. He's logged a 57% snap share. And interestingly enough, he is the 4th highest graded interior lineman this season by Pro Football Focus. He has an 86.4. So pretty impressive stuff there. 2 more names I wanted.
Man of the year as well.
Yeah. 2 more names I wanted to name that I've heard is Arden Key, who's on the Titans, and then Dalvin Tomlinson, which I think is a little more wishful. He's 30 years old, but he's been a stud at times during his career. Interior lineman, I think he would be very impactful if the Niners were able to acquire him. He's on the Browns as well. Man, the Browns have so much talent on their defensive line. It's too bad they can't win any games. But yeah, 30-year-old Dalvin Tomlinson, I think he's on a pretty hefty contract, but his name is also thrown around.
Everything you said just made me more excited about Calais Campbell. I don't know if that's
me
I don't know if
too.
that's what you were intending there, but it's like, yeah, all those names are great, but that makes me think that if they could get Calais Campbell, that would be a good consolation to not being able to get Buckner.
That'd be awesome. And he's on the Dolphins. Call up your boy Mikey. Come on, Mikey. Help us out here, buddy. We gave you Wes Welker. Like, come on. Help us out.
I don't feel like Mike and Kyle are friends. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're friends.
I feel like, yeah, their friendship declined.
Why do you think?
Mike kind of, why? I don't, well, Mike McDaniel was on a podcast a year or two ago, and he was asked about his time in San Francisco and getting to Miami, and he said something along the lines of, basically he gave off the vibe that he felt Kyle was kind of holding him back and kind of keeping him in the shadows because he didn't want the league to find out about him because then Kyle would lose him because Kyle knew how good he was. And he felt like he could have been offensive coordinator, could have been play caller much sooner. And Kyle just had him as the run coordinator, the pass coordinator, whatever. And he feels like he probably could have been a head coach earlier. And Kyle kind of, kept him in the shadows, I guess.
Interesting.
He's made some comments on some podcasts in the past where I don't think there's a ton of love lost between Kyle and Mike. And when they played, when the Niners beat the Dolphins, a year or two ago, it seemed like Mike was just devastated. Like he wanted that game so bad. And when Debo was going through his contract stuff, Debo was in Miami hanging out with Mike. And I think Debo might have been doing that because he's trying to generate some trade talk and how that whole negotiation stuff goes. And I wonder if he knows, like, if I go hang out with Mike, that'll get under Kyle's skin. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Kyle and Sean are competitive, but they're friends. Sean McVay, Kyle and Matt LaFleur, that relationship kind of got a little sketchy when the Niners tried to trade the 3rd overall pick for Rodgers before they drafted Lance. So, but I feel like they're probably still sort of friendly. Robert Saleh and Kyle are probably friendly. Mike McDaniel and Kyle, something tells me there's no love lost there.
It's interesting.
Mostly speculation, but yeah. Well, anything else you guys want to get to? Has anyone checked on the Bucs score?
No, I haven't. What would be your, I don't know, like you talked about the names and we're trying to be realistic and that's great, but like, so do you think D-line is the number one position? Like if you're not thinking about, like just wish list for position.
I think it's like the idea that they're going to go out and like upgrade at right tackle or something, like that's just not going to happen. To be kind of realistic, I think they could get a good defensive lineman like Calais Campbell I would be very excited about that. Defoe, obviously. I think they need depth there, and I think that would go a lot farther and a lot more realistic than bringing in some like sweet corner or a right tackle or something. I've heard some people speculate about safety because the Niners safeties are young and they've shown flashes, but they're all kind of the same exact player. They're all strong safeties. Huff, Brown, Malik. They don't really have that like Jimmy Ward free safety type player who's fast and can cover. I listened to Larry Krueger, and he was talking about how the Niners should go get Kyle Duggar from the Patriots. And that to me that would be like more of a splashy trade because he just signed a big 4-year contract with the Patriots. And I'm thinking the Niners, if they do a deal, and I think they will do one, I think it's going to be closer to like a Jordan Willis, Arden Key type of trade than a Christian McCaffrey or even an Emmanuel Sanders level trade. It's not going to be high draft capital. It could be one of those things where the Niners send a 6th round pick, they get a player in a 7th back. Calais Campbell and Defoe would be at the top of my list, or even an edge rusher because Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross Matos I don't know, man. The Niners have been struggling for years, really since D Ford left, to get some production opposite Bosa. Drake Jackson's done nothing.
Is,
The veterans
is,
they've signed have done basically
is
nothing.
Drake Jackson hurt? What's going on with him?
Yep.
Yeah, he went on season-ending IR in the offseason.
Damn.
And I don't even really remember what the injury was. I just remember seeing it and just kind of thinking like, okay, there goes another quality draft pick just down the drain. And I feel bad saying that. He's like 22 or 23. He's still real young, but he's going to be in his fourth year with the Niners next year. It's
Wow.
at that point he's playing for a contract to play somewhere else. I was excited when they signed Leonard Floyd. He's had 9-10 sacks a year for 4 or 5 years in a row. He doesn't miss games, and he hasn't missed any games with the Niners. But the production's just not there.
Yeah, I've been disappointed in Leonard Floyd's performance as well. Another name that I thought of that is being thrown around extremely splashy and not necessarily a need for the Niners is Marshawn Lattimore, but it's heavily insinuated that he's going to be going to Kansas City, is all the reports that I've seen, which is another nightmare trade because that's going to make them even scarier in the secondary. I don't know how anybody's receivers are going to get open. But anyway, Steven, you're about to say something.
I was just going to say, I hadn't even really thought about it, but Ryan mentioning like it's not going to happen, but how cool would it be if they could upgrade at right tackle? Like that
would be awesome.
That to me, that would be like a huge thing. Like if you could go get a splashy, good right tackle and turn McKivitz into a backup, like that'd be huge.
That'd be massive.
Yeah, the problem is quality tackles in general aren't just on the trade market.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, I get that. I agree. I mean, it would have to be like a veteran on a losing team that, they're probably going to lose anyways in free agency. And I don't look at the tackle market enough to know if that guy even exists. I'm just saying, I hadn't even really thought about that until you mentioned it. I was like, damn, that would be impactful.
Yeah, it would be. Chasen mentioned Lattimore, which got me thinking about the Saints. How about Cam Jordan?
Is he
another defensive lineman, edge rusher?
Is he still making noise?
I think so. I don't really know, but
I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
that would require me to watch Saints football, and they're pretty close to being the Aints again.
Yeah.
I saw Derek Carr became the first quarterback in NFL history to lose to 31 NFL teams.
Oh wow!
And the Raiders are on the schedule later this year, so it could be 32.
Oh wow!
That'd be awesome.
I also saw another stat. Sorry, Steven.
No, it's okay.
That Dennis Allen is the first head coach in NFL history to get fired from 2 different jobs with the same starting quarterback.
Oh my God.
Fool me once.
That's bad.
Shame on you. So I was just gonna say, like, I feel like it's either the lines. I just don't think they need secondary help. I mean, yeah, injuries could change that, but I really don't see that being a concern. It's got to be either the lines that are at the top of my list.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the secondary is pretty good. The young guys at safety are playing well, and Demo's a freaking stud. I think Mooney's still a good player. I do wonder how his recent loss is going to affect him.
Yeah.
Well,
hopefully it motivates.
Trying to pray for him.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, I wonder if it could just light a fire underneath him that no one's ever seen before. It's tough to even speculate or think about that. I've just been praying for him, hoping he and his family are trying to find some level of peace. It's a good thing they were on the bye and he could probably try to get away a little bit, but my goodness, what a awful situation.
Yeah. It's just unfathomable, honestly. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It kind of does make sense. The last thing on Mooney, he was been talking about how he wasn't playing well all season, and I heard your guys' favorite reporter, Grant Cohn, he was talking about how Mooney was saying he's not been playing well this season and he knows why, but he doesn't want to say why. And Grant was kind of wondering, like, what's the deal? Is it the coaching? What's going on? And then this happened, and Grant was kind of like, oh, we never really think about the personal lives and what's going on in these guys. Like he's probably been very distracted, and
Well,
who knows?
yeah, I wonder if that is what it is, because even though I don't like Grant Cohn, I can't help but see some of his stuff every now and then. I do remember him bringing that up and making it sound like, that it was a problem with the coaches or a problem in the locker room. And he's like, if you know what the problem is, then why not just come out and say it so it can be fixed? And I was like, to me, I mean, it was just exact proof of why I don't like Grant Cohn, that whole story at the time, because it's like, oh, you're just going to find a way to spin it to try to, sensationalize things and get clicks. But anyways,
Grant, we'd be happy to have you on the show if you ever see this.
I don't know if I would.
One out of
Grant,
3 of us
I will
have you.
I'm happy to have you on the show. I will talk to you by myself if I have
we'll sub out for that episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you guys want to touch on, or should we'll talk about the Bucks maybe later this week?
Yeah, I think we're good. I'm excited to see what CMC looks like. That's probably the most exciting recent development.
Yeah, if Mason is healthy, the shoulder's feeling better, Garendo's been getting better, and if CMC's ready, I would like to see them go back to the 2019 model with Mostert, Breida, and
Coleman.
Yeah, rotate them. Keep them fresh. I don't want to see CMC coming back into the Bucks and getting 20 touches.
I don't think.
I would
10,
be
10 12.
very upset if that happened, and I highly doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think so either. I think Kyle's smarter than that. But so yeah, go back to the rotation model. Keep these guys all healthy and go beat the Bucks. But yeah, we'll talk about that game later this week. Until then,
sounds good.
What day is the trade deadline? Is it Tuesday?
It's tomorrow. It's election day. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have something spicy in the next show that we can react to. Whatever new 49er we're going to welcome and give an optimistic take and how they're going to transform our season. I'll be excited to do that.
It would be fun to have that to talk about. I think Ryan is exactly right what he said though earlier, that it's going to be something more like, Jordan Willis or whatever type of move. But
we'll spin that into how that's going to transform our defense.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan Willis was a nice player for the Niners.
He was very
He was. He was
playoff hero against the Packers.
That's right.
He was.
That's right.
Steven.
Yes.
The Kings beat the Heat by 1 point. They clutched it up.
Good.
4-3, winning.
Good job.
Winning record.
Good job, Kings. All right.
Yep.
Back to 500.
Yep.
All right, we'll end it right there. Go Kings.
Yeah.
Go Kings.
See you guys later.
All right, peace out, guys.